Hey, this is Fixtures and Workflow, and in this lab is to create a um, semi-automated process and a fully automated process. So with this, it's for a toy car. So the toy car is made out of wood. The wheels are made out of wood, metal axle, and two little brackets. So with these little brackets, they're made out of plastic. It would take 8 bolts that need to be placed, plus 8 bolts or screws that need to be placed, plus holes need to be drilled if it's used a bolt. And this didn't seem to really add process didn't seem to add value over the bracket solution that it came up with. So it came up with a different bracket solution that has a little metal piece instead of this piece. Because if I can justify a change in the process to save cost in other ways, then it's allowed. So if I get rid of this window, we go over. So this is what the car looks like fully assembled, assuming that there is 4 brackets instead of the 1 bracket. This was just to help give a visual of what it looks like. So if I go down and if it goes, we look at the clip. So this is the clip solution I came up with. So instead of using bolts and screws and fiddling with a bunch of parts, we have 1 part, and it has a fishhook type solution to it. So it's a softer wood, so because it's a toy car, so generally there's a little bit softer wood. So I figured if it pushes in, and then it won't pull out, it'll just dig into that wood. Because I didn't want to just use like a straight like screw or staple gun, because I wasn't sure, for a kid, if it pulls out, that's not good, because it's sharp objects. And then glue doesn't, unless it came up with the right glue, it doesn't always stand the test of time. So I figured this one, it gets in there, stays sturdy. So if we go down to the assembly, so this is first the semi-automated assembly. So if you look here, we'll start basically the goal is place all the parts, push the button. Once you push the button, it does everything. So the vacuum's always on though, and then possibly there need to be a membrane in between to help create a good suction on this car. But the car gets placed in that spot, and then it's on pneumatic rams. But so that gets pushed down. So things aren't quite fully made it, but yeah. So it gets pushed down. Once it sits on there, then it stays fairly stable. So when it's putting pressure, those hooks will allow it to stay stable, and then it'll be able to fully complete the press down. And then there's 2 actuators to help even further stabilize the pressure coming down. So yeah, so that's how that gets placed. The next part, those clips just slip right in. So you got the 4 clips; they stay stable on the vertical walls, and then the axles get placed over them. I think I kind of got it invisible or transparent over here. You can kind of see how it fits into it. So those fit in, and then the wooden wheels slide into there. And then so once everything's all placed, once again, kind of reiterating, that gets pushed down, and then so these in its resting state would be pushed all the way out for when you slide the wheels in. And then once the wheels are slid in and everything's going, they push in, so everything pushes in, and then that pushes down, and then when it pulls back up, it pulls the whole assembly out, and then everything gets reset and the car is fully assembled. So that is the solution I came up with for the semi-automatic car. And now if we go down to, or the semi-automatic process, if we go down to the fully automated process, so if I go over here, so as you can see, I went away with the bracket on this one. Looking at all the toy cars that I came across, I went into the store and was looking around the internet. Everybody's doing drilling holes through, and I was like, all right, nobody's doing brackets, and the brackets honestly won't really add any value. I don't think somebody's gonna choose. If you look at two cars, they're not gonna choose the car with the bracket over this car. That's not really here nor there, especially with the amount of processing that would take in order to assemble the car. And so with that said, the first part of the process on the conveyor belt, or the line, is it's two motors that slide across a kind of like a jig that's attached to a pneumatic or hydraulic that will slowly push in. And if you look at this plate right here, the plate prevents the car from pushing over and while it's drilling through, and then it will do the same when it's pulling back, so it'll prevent it from pulling back out of that the jig. So once that car gets placed in, it does the drilling, and then when that happens, we go to the second process. So if I can kind of line this up, so the second process is pushing the axles in. So there's the two pneumatic actuators. Assuming you control the speed so the axle doesn't go flying out the other side too fast. You push it into place right at the distance it needs to be, and then there'll be little magnets underneath in this plate that'll hold that bolt in place. So the wood's not too thick right here, so that pneumatic or the magnet will be able to get a strong enough hold on that axle to keep it relatively stable as it works its way down the line. And so once that happens, it works its way down the line. Also, those axles are in kind of like a magazine thing, but yeah. So it works its way down the line, and then works its way to the third process. So in the third process, you got the axle in there, you got the car placed, and now same thing where there's a magazine. So with this, most likely there would be two little things to help control how the wheels drop into place. Right now wouldn't be ideal without those, but I just didn't add those into this assembly line. So with that, the wheels are controlled, they drop down, get placed, and then kind of like the semi-automatic where it pushes in. If it pushes in at the same time, the axles will stay relatively center until it gets fully pressed in, and then everything will center up. If you look here, it is chamfered. So got it on both sides, and then so if there's a little bit off, it'll self-adjust and be able to push in. And then instead of doing washers, because washers would also be a pain to automate, I just kind of put it in a little thing, so it's the whole wheel's not rubbing against the car. If it gets a little side to side, it's not a high load bearing. There's not a whole lot of pressure being applied to this product. So this would be a good solution for instead of actually placing washers in. And then with that said, that completes the assembly line, and thanks for listening.